Hello student, I'm Sonali Kelkar from City International School and today we are going to start with our new chapter, that is tissues. Now what do you mean by tissue? We know that all living organisms are composed of cells, right? In unicellular organism, a single cells perform all the basic functions. But what about multicellular organism? Right? We have different type of function. Our body does different type of functions, and these different type of functions are performed by different cells, right? So cells specializing in one function group together and form tissues. So what are tissues? They are made up of cells which have almost similar structure and they perform the same function. So that group of cell is known as tissue. Now let's have a look at the tissues of plants first. The first tissue is meristematic tissue. Now, meristematic tissue is a tissue which keeps dividing and dividing, right? It never stops dividing. Okay, so these are the cells which keep dividing are called meristematic tissues, right? Now, there are three types of meristematic tissue. Apical meristem, as you can see where it is found at the shoot tip. It is also found at root tip, and we know that the roots of plants, they grow to find water and mineral inside the ground. They keep growing, they doesn't stop at all. Okay, so and what about the shoot of the tip? Shoot of the tip also grows, right? Shoot never stops. Clear? So these apical meristem tissues, they are present on the growing tips of stems and root. Okay, and these cells have a capacity to divide. They divide very actively. Clear? So this is responsible for the growth of plants, right? Now, what about intercalary meristem? As you see intercalary meristem, you can see here, okay, they are present at the node, responsible for the growth of leaves, for the growth of new buds, for the growth of branches, right? So, these are present at the base of the leaves, or we call internode. We call this part internode of twigs, okay? So, it helps in longitudinal growth of plants. Coming to lateral meristem. Lateral meristem, as you see here, lateral meristem, they are responsible for the growth of the girth. That means the diameter. Have you seen the plant? It is not going just height wise, it also grow width wise also, right? So when there is a width wise elongation, when the diameter increases, that means it is due to the presence of lateral meristem, right? So they are present on the lateral side of stems and roots. It helps in increasing the girth, the diameter of stems as well as roots. Right. Now we have simple permanent tissues. Clear? The simple permanent tissues. This tissue is formed from the cell, from the meristem cells, right? Which have lost their ability to divide and have attained a permanent shape, size and function by the process called differentiation. Now what happened when the meristem cells divides and redivides, the new meristem cells are producing, right? But what about the old meristem cells, right? The old meristem cells, they have to take a certain shape and size according to the function they perform. Clearly, just like xylem and phloem. So xylem is a tissue, okay, which helps for the transfer of water and mineral from root to the other parts. Phloem helps for the transfer of food from leaves to the roots to different parts of the plants, right? It goes up also wherever, whichever part doesn't able to produce food. Over there, phloem transfer food, right? So there are certain permanent tissues. Now these permanent tissues are formed out of meristematic tissues, right? Because meristematic tissue has the ability to divide and divide and divide, but when they lose that ability of dividing, then what happens? Then this tissue takes a particular shape and size, okay, according to the function they perform, right? The process of taking a permanent shape and size and function, this is known as differentiation, right? So this is what is all about differentiation. Now coming to the simple permanent tissues. Now simple permanent tissues are of three types. Children, okay, first was a meristematic tissue which we did, and then there are permanent tissue. So plant tissues are divided into first meristematic tissue and then simple permanent tissues, right? Under the simple permanent tissues, we have parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, right? Okay, now let's have a look of these different type of simple permanent tissues. Parenchyma, okay, a few layers of cells form the basic packaging tissues. The parenchyma are made up of cells which the function is packaging of the tissue. In fact, its main function is to store food, okay. So and they are present in everywhere in plant, everywhere they are present, right? Okay, most profoundly uh, found in plants. They are present in cortex, they are present in pith of the stem, roots, okay, in the mesophils of leaf. Mesophils are type of cells, they are present in leaves, right? So they are present in that also, parenchyma, because what is the basic requirement of parenchyma? What is the basic function of, parenchyma is packaging as well as storage of food. And we know that each and every cell needs food for energy, right? Then comes collenchyma. These tissues are generally found in leaf stalks, okay, below the epidermis and leaf midribs. They are basically basic. The main function of collenchyma is give a mechanical strength, okay, the flexibility in plants, okay. When you must have watched when wind blows very hard, okay, very strong, that time plant doesn't break, it moves, it just move from one, like at its position it moves, but doesn't get break, right, unless and until the wind is really strong, right? Okay, then it gets uprooted. But usually you see plants wave leaves, even leaves, they are flexible, they are waving, and then once the wind stops uh, moving, plants is steady again, right? Then comes sclerenchyma, right? Sclerenchyma, this is a type of tissue present in stem around the vascular bundles. Now what are vascular bundles? These are xylem and phloem, right? Around the xylem and phloem, because xylem and phloem goes through the stem, okay. Xylem from roots goes to the upper part of the stem, the upper part of the plant, and phloem from the leaves goes down, and even it moves laterally also, okay. So the middle part of the plant, it requires lot of strength, right? So it gives a mechanical strength. Sclerenchyma gives mechanical strength, due to which plants are steady, they are at their position, right? And they can tolerate any kind of force, wind force, right? Let's have a look uh, of parenchyma in detail. Now we are going to study about the parenchyma and all the simple tissues in detail, right? Parenchyma, the cells of these tissues are living cells. The very important point, parenchyma are living cells, right? Yeah, they are living cells. Okay, their walls are thin. Their cell walls are thin. Cells can be oval or round in shape. As you can see, cells are oval and round. Cell walls are thin, okay, and most profoundly found cells, parenchyma. Okay, then if you see, there are spaces. So intercellular spaces are more. in parenchyma there are intercellular spaces. Okay, they have large vacuoles and a dense cytoplasm. Vacuoles are large and cytoplasm is also dense. Then parenchyma tissues are located in soft parts of plants such as cortex and pith. We have already studied. It is found in all parts of the plants, right? Now coming to the functions. They are act as a packaging tissue. So we can ask the question like which cell is called a packaging tissue? Okay, which tissue is called a packaging tissue, right? So parenchyma is called as a packaging tissue or the packaging cell. Okay, it provides mechanical strength to a certain limit. It also helps in storage of food. So storage of food and packaging tissue, these are the two important points to be remembered when you learn about the function of parenchyma. Clear, students? Now let's go to the next part of parenchyma. There are two important types of parenchyma, right? Parenchyma which has chlorophyll is known as chlorenchyma. Sorry, it is chlorenchyma. Parenchyma which stores chlorophyll. Okay, which stores chlorophyll, which perform photosynthesis. Wherever there is chlorophyll, definitely there will be a process of photosynthesis, right? So parenchyma which stores chlorophyll is known as chlorenchyma. Student, please don't get confused between between these words, right? It's chlorenchyma. From chlorophyll the word has come chlorenchyma. It's chlorenchyma, chlorenchyma, because you people student mostly get confused between chlorenchyma and collenchyma. So this is chlorenchyma, right? Then Aerenchyma. Now Aerenchyma, these type of parenchyma, they are present in aquatic plants. Why? In aquatic plants they create a large number of air sacs, right? These air sacs are filled with air. Okay, when it is filled with air, what happens? Its density decreases, right, and its surface area has increased. No, it now it gets a buoyancy. It gives buoyancy, right? A buoyancy is nothing but it is the force which is against the gravitational pull, okay, and which makes the object to float on a liquid surface or in any air. Even in air body floats, okay. So this is a buoyant force, okay, which helps the body to float, okay. It is against the force of a gravitational, okay, right? So it gives buoyancy to the plant and it helps to so that aquatic plants can float. So it's and is called parenchyma. Clear? So I'll read one more time. In aquatic plants, cells of parenchyma have large air cavities to give buoyancy to the plant and is called aerenchyma. Okay. Yes. Now the next collenchyma, right? So there is collenchyma. This is a collenchyma. Student, don't get confused between collenchyma and chlorenchyma. So if you pronounce correctly, I don't think there will be any chance of confusion. Collenchyma, these are the living cells. Parenchyma were also living cells. Collenchyma are also living cells, right? But here you can see they are elongated. Okay, if you see the longitudinal sections, these cells are elongated cells, right? The elongated shape, right? The corners of the cell here, let me take a pen, right? Here, these are the corners of the cells, right? These are the corners of the cells. They are thickened. They are thickened irregularly. So this is a peculiarity of collenchyma. Here see the corners are thickened irregularly, right? So this is a basic peculiarity of collenchyma. They are elongated, and if you see there is very less intercellular space. Very little intercellular space is present in collenchyma, right? And where are they found? Location is very important. Leaf stalk, leaf stalks and below the epidermis. They are present in leaf stalks and below the epidermis, right? And now coming to the function, mechanical support, very important. Flexibility, it provides flexibility of plants, okay, as well as it gives mechanical support. Main is flexibility of the plants, right? It allows the bending of various parts of the plant. When wind blows, plant get blends. If you bends, right? If you see the tendrils of plants or the climbers, right? You must have done climbers. So if you see climbers, they bend so easily, but they don't get break, right? So this flexibility of the plants is due to the presence of collenchyma, right? Now coming to the sclerenchyma. Uh, Here, the very important part is sclerenchyma. The cells of sclerenchyma tissues are dead. The cells of sclerenchyma tissues are dead. So sclerenchyma is non-living cell, right, or non-living tissue. Sclerenchyma is non-living tissue. It is made up of dead cells, right? Why this is so? Why this is so? Right? Because the cell wall of the parenchyma gets so thickened that whatever protoplasm is present inside the cells, uh, uh, it just get vanish. Okay, so there is nothing present inside the cell. Okay, the thickness of the wall is so much that the whole cells becomes dead. Okay, so uh, this is now what is getting deposit on the walls of the cell. That is something which is known as lignin. So there is a lignin which is getting deposit on the walls of the cell. Because of this, the thickness of the cell increases and there is hardly any passage of oxygen, plant or any material from inside to outside. That is, diffusion is completely stopped, osmosis gets completely stopped, right? And the cells becomes dead, of course, right? The cells of this tissue can be of different shapes and size. They are generally located in leaf veins. Have you seen the leaf veins, right? If this is leaf, right? This is what is a midrib, right? These are the veins, and the veins from veins arises veinlets, right? So these veins, right? The veins of leaves, fine, they are made up of sclerenchyma. Then hard covering of seeds like walnut, right, and even almonds. The hard covering of seed is made up of sclerenchyma. Then husk of coconut. If you draw coconut, right, you have seen the brown husky coconut. Okay, the brown husk around the coconut, that is also made up of sclerenchyma cells, right? Let me rub this. Okay, so the presence is very important, and a very important point over here what you have to know is they are dead, they are made up of dead cells, right? Where they are found, that is also important. Now coming to the function, it is this provide rigidity and mechanical support to the plant body, right? Mechanical support is basically provided by sclerenchyma, though it is also provided by collenchyma, but it's not to that extent, right? It is mostly provided by sclerenchyma. It provides rigidity and mechanical support to plant bodies. They also make the plant stiff and hard. Okay, so these are the main function of sclerenchyma. So we did three type of tissues. The first was a non-permanent tissue, right? That is meristematic tissue. But in permanent tissue, we have done the first one, that is a simple permanent tissue. Why do we call them simple permanent tissue? Because they are made up of a single type of cells, right? Under simple permanent tissue, we did parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, right? Now there are something more called protective tissues. Protective tissues are very important, right? They are very important. As the word suggests, it protects the plant body, okay, and something which protects your body is always found on the outer layer, isn't it? Even your skin protects the body, so skin is found on the outer layer. So anything which protects the body, it forms the outer layer, right? Here the protective tissues forms the outer layer of a whole plant. Okay, now under the protective tissue there are two types. Okay, these are the epidermis, simple tissue, right? See, wherever you find this word simple, means it is made up of single type of cells. Simple means it is made up of single type of cells. Simple tissues, that means they are made up of single type of cells, because further we are going to study about the complex tissues. Xylem and phloem are complex tissues. They are made up of different type of cells. Okay, student. Epidermis, simple tissue. Epidermis covers the entire body of plant. Why do we need to have this type of tissue which covers the entire body of plant? You can think about skin cells on your body. Okay, they also protect you from germs, isn't it? They protect you from germs, they protect you from any internal injury, right? And water loss. This is very important. So the same function is also performed in plants which by epidermis tissues. So injury, germs and water loss. Okay, these are the main uh, uh, functions of epidermis tissue, right? Protect the plant from injury, from germs and from water loss. Then epidermis is usually made up of single layer of cell. Yes, these epidermis tissues are usually made up of single layer of cells. Entire surface of plant has an outer covering epidermis, as I have already told you. Entire surface is covered with epidermis. Now it has few special kind of functions, depends upon the environment of plant, okay, where the plant belong to, in which environment it is growing. So let's see what happened in desert plants. In desert plants, epidermis and cutin. Cutin is a waterproof waxy substance secreted by epidermis. We call it cuticle layer. Have you ever observed leaves of plants? Okay, if you have observed the leaves of plant, you will see that the top layer of the plant is quite shiny, it's quite waxy, right? This is shiny, waxy, and this is thick. This is because it reduces the loss of water, okay, and it is this is smooth so that water cannot lodge on the leaves. Otherwise leaf will get, you know, infected by fungus and bacteria, okay, and the extra water will spoil leaf, right? Then epidermis cells on the aerial parts often secretes a waxy water resistant. Now this waxy has function, it resists water resistance layer on the outer surface. Then it aids in the protection of loss of water. We did mechanical injuries also, it protects from mechanical injuries and invasion of parasitic fungi. So these three are the important functions. These three are the important functions of epidermal layer. These are loss of water. It protects against loss of water, mechanical injuries, any kind of injuries. It protects plants from mechanical injuries and also invasion by parasitic fungi. Okay, so these are the three important functions of epidermal cells in aerial parts. In desert parts, it makes a thick cuticle layer which helps to reduce water loss, because we know that in desert there is a scarcity of water, okay. So because of this thick layer, transpiration. Now what is transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water through the aerial part, right? So transpiration get reduced because there is a thick layer on leaf, okay. So when there is a thick layer, let me make a leaf over here. Okay, when there is a thick layer on leaf, definitely the loss of water is reduced, right? Okay, yeah, fine, students. Now let's go to the next slide. Here we can see the protective tissues are also found on the under part of leaf. This is the top part of a leaf. Okay, below the leaf there is a under part of leaf, right? Okay, below the leaf. And what will you find over there? We will find stomatas, right? There are opening which are called a stomatal opening, right? And these stomatas are guarded by the two cells known as guard cells, right? Stomata is composed of, let's say composed of, it is composed of two cells called guard cells, right? These guard cells helps in regulating the opening of stomata, right? The opening of stomata is known as stomatal opening. Now, why these stomata are important? There are two functions of stomata. First, it helps in the exchange of gases. Now, during the daytime, carbon dioxide is coming inside. Why we require carbon dioxide? Why plants require carbon dioxide during daytime? Yes, students? Yes, it is. They require carbon dioxide for the process of photosynthesis, right? Fine. And oxygen is going out. Carbon dioxide comes inside and oxygen goes out, right? During daytime. During nighttime, it is just a vice versa, just opposite. They breathe like us, they respire like us, right? And second is we have, as I have told you, transpiration, loss of water through the aerial parts of the plant, right? So here these epidermis cells, they are little bit modified, right? So stomata are the small opening on the epidermal layer of leaf and soft parts of stems to facilitate the gaseous exchange and transpiration in plants. Soft parts of stems, as you know about shrubs, students, shrubs like, just for example, your mint, coriander, spinach, fenugreek, they are completely green in color. Even the stem part is green in color. So wherever there is green color, there is a presence of chlorophyll, and there will be little bit small, very less amount of stomatal opening. Stomatal openings are profoundly found in leaves. Okay. Then, sorry, in stems there will be a different opening called lenticles. Okay. And each stomata is composed of two guard cells which regulates the opening and closing of stomata. This we have already discussed. Then epidermal cells of roots bear long hair, right, like part that greatly increases the total absorptive surface area. Now let me show with a drawing. Children, in roots, suppose I have taken this root, okay, and this, let's take, this is a primary root, then there are secondary roots, and then there are tertiary roots. Okay, over here on the root I'm making a little magnified structure. This is small root hair type of structure, right? Here you will find root hair, very tiny, very small root hair type of structure, very small, right? Root hair. This is a magnified picture of a root hair, right? Now this root hair increases the surface area of absorption. Wherever we need lot of absorption, right? Absorption of what? Absorption of definitely water and mineral with that, right? Because they are in contact with soil. So definitely they are responsible for the absorption of water and minerals, right? So this root hair is responsible to increase the surface area. They are tiny root hairs. Okay, when the surface area has increased, then there will be a more amount of absorption of water and mineral. We know that more water and different type of mineral, phosphorus, nitrate, sulfate, all these type of zinc, magnesium chloride, these minerals are very, very important to perform the different metabolic functions in plants. Okay, they are responsible for the growth of plants, right? So that is why they require a system which can efficiently absorb water and mineral from the soil, right? So there can be a question asked, why do plants have long hair like part? Okay, so this is to increase the absorptive surface area in roots of plants. Now coming to the second type of protective tissue, this is cork, simple tissue, right? You must have heard the word cork, and we did in last chapter, okay, that Robert Hooke, he first he was the first scientist who had seen a cork or slice of cork under the microscope, and there he saw cells, a compartment, right? Cells. But we have already noticed that cork is dead cell. What he uh, first saw was dead cells, right? So cork, we know that it is made up of dead cells. They are arranged compactly, right, with no intercellular space, right? And what are they made up of? They are made up of a secondary meristem located in the cortex. We have heard about meristem, right? But these are the secondary meristem located under the cortex. So these are dead cells. Okay, and in most of the huge trees, big trees, right, the trunk of the trees, you will see these corks are present. Outer layer of trunk of the tree is made up of cork. And what is the use of the cork? You know, in most of the laboratories, the bottle the top of the bottle, the covering of the bottle is made up of cork. Then you must have heard about the cricket ball made up of cork. Then shuttles, okay, in badminton, the lower part is made up of cork. So there are many use of cork. The cork cells have a chemical. Now which type of chemicals do they have? So it is suberin, in which in their walls this chemical called suberin is present, okay, which makes them impervious to gases and water, right? So cork tissue protect plants from injuries, same injuries, germs and water loss. Cork is present, right? Cork, being light in weight, is used for making several products like bottle stoppers and shuttlecock, right? So we have already discussed these points. So this is all about today's session, students. Okay, please practice the topic, and thank you so much.